Druid Hill Park is a 745-acre urban park in northwest Baltimore, Maryland. Its boundaries are marked by Druid Park Drive, Swann Drive and Reisterstown Road, and the Jones Falls Expressway. Inaugurated in 1860, Druid Hill Park ranks with Central Park in New York and Fairmount Park in Philadelphia as the oldest landscaped public parks in the United States. History: the land was originally part of Ashentawley, the estate of Dr. George Buchanan, one of the 7 commissioners responsible for the 1729 establishment of Baltimore City. Buchanan's country estate included 579 of the 745 acres that comprise Druid Hill Park today. Renamed Druid Hill by Nicholas Rogers, who married Eleanor Buchanan, it was purchased in 1860 by the city of Baltimore from Lloyd Rogers with the revenue derived from a 1-cent park tax on the nickel horse car fares. Druid Hill Park was inaugurated by Baltimore Mayor Thomas Swann on October 19, 1860. It is listed on the National Register of Historic Places. Local residents often refer to the park as Druid Hill Park, a Baltimoreese corruption of its given name. The park was designed by Howard Daniels, Baltimore Park Commissioner's landscape designer, and John H. B. Latrobe, who designed the gateways to the park and the alterations made to the early 19th century Nicholas Rogers mansion that already stood in the site. George A. Frederick, the 21-year-old Baltimore architect who won the commission for Baltimore City Hall in 1860, provided designs for architectural features in the park. Among Frederick's playful structures for Druid Hill in Moorish and Chinese styles is the Chinese Station erected in 1864 and the Moorish Station, which were stops on a narrow-gauge railroad that once wound through the park. The Mansion House now functions as the main administration building of the Maryland Zoo. The park served as an attractive hill for winter sledding during the 1940s, particularly for boys attending the Medical Academy of Baltimore. Like Central Park, Druid Hill was at the northern edges of urban development at the time of its establishment. The northern end of the park, which contains some of the oldest forest growth in the state of Maryland, has never been landscaped, but rather left as a natural wooded habitat. Roadways through this section of the park have been closed to vehicular traffic since the late 1970s or early 1980s, but have always been open for hikers and bicyclists. The southern end of the park was a popular destination for city dwellers for a number of decades. Druid Hill Lake, the park's most notable waterway, was constructed in 1863 and remains one of the largest earthen-dammed lakes in the country. With the advent of automobiles, the park's many winding roadways became popular with car dealers who took potential buyers there to teach them to drive. Many of the park's older fountains and man-made ponds have been drained, allowing nature to reclaim those areas. However, many of their structures remain partially or completely intact. Druid Hill Park was listed on the National Register of Historic Places on May 22, 1973. The park is included in the Baltimore National Heritage Area. Racial segregation: when the park opened in 1860, recreation facilities such as pools and tennis courts were racially segregated. This practice was challenged on July 11, 1948 when 24 black tennis players, protesting the city's discriminatory policies, were arrested for playing on the park's white-only tennis courts. The names of the protesters are commemorated on the Baltimore Tennis Club marker, located adjacent to the conservatory along Druid Park Lake Drive. Festivities: the Druid Hill Farmers Market is located at the Howard P. Rawlings Conservatory in Druid Hill Park. When open, it offers free programming each week, including concerts, children's activities, yoga classes, plant workshops, art workshops, hay rides, hula hoops, 4-H workshops, and more. The market runs every Wednesday, 3:30–7:30 from June through September. The annual Stone Soul Picnic is held at Druid Hill Park since 1991. The event is free to the public, and consists of food, face painting, music, and cultural art. This past summer recording artists as Carly Swag District, Bobby V, Marks Houston, and Jasmine Sullivan performed. Another free event held yearly at Druid Hill Park is the annual Caribbean Carnival Festival. The Caribbean American Carnival Association of Baltimore sponsors the event. The event lasts for 3 days, consists of food, Caribbean art, soca, live reggae bands, and costumed dancers. The park also is the venue for the annual Charm City Cyclocross bicycle race in mid-September, which is one of the major cyclocross bicycle races on the east coast of the United States. Health. In 2007, the city of Baltimore spent $50,000 on exercise equipment for the park. The park consists of 3 workout stations around the park reservoir. The workout machines in the park are free for the public. There are some stations with rowing machines, elliptical, and leg presses. Many of the exercise machines are manually operated. By the end of 2010, the city of Baltimore plans to build more exercise equipment for other parks in the city. Monuments. There are many different monuments in Druid Hill Park. The Wallace Monument, for example, honors 14th-century Scottish hero and rebellion chieftain William Wallace. The statue, at least 40 feet tall, is the most recognizable monument in the park. The Wagner Monument stands on the lawn spreading from the Mansion House. The monument in honor of Christopher Columbus lies within a view of the main south driveway, and looks out upon the reservoir. The statue of George Washington is placed at an intersection near the Rotunda driveway. Housing. Druid Hill Park is not home to any private residences, according to the official neighborhood boundaries by the city government of Baltimore. However, the Mansion House, located in the Maryland Zoo, which was built in 1801, served as the estate for Colonel Nicholas Rogers and his family until it was converted into a public pavilion in 1863. The only privately owned properties that are somewhat submerged into the park are at the northeastern corner of the park. This small enclave is the Brick Hill Historic District, dating to 1877, made of small masonry as well as stone duplexes, where those who worked at the meadow mill of the Woodbury Manufacturing Company lived. However, this is considered to be a part of the Woodbury neighborhood. Many homes face the park in the neighborhoods of Hampton, Liberty Square, Park Circle, Parkway Woodbrook, Reservoir Hill, and Woodbury. The Akentrelli Terrace, which faces the neighborhood in the Parkway Woodbrook neighborhood, is a historic district of 9 blocks built between 1876 and the 1920s in the Victorian style. Features. Today, the park is home to a number of attractions. These include, the Maryland Zoo, the Howard Peters Rawlings Conservatory and Botanic Gardens of Baltimore, with its historic Palm House and Orchid Room, built in 1888. An 18-hole disc golf course, the Baltimore Model Safety City, Jones Falls Trail, a hiking and bicycling trail, leaves the Jones Falls at the Woodbury Light Rail Station to enter the north end of Druid Hill Park. It then runs along the west side of the park, before it circles Druid Hill Lake and exits at the southeast corner, where it continues to follow the Jones Falls south. The R&B group Druid Hill took its name from the park. Notes. External links. Baltimore Department of Recreation and Parks, Druid Hill Park, Baltimore, Maryland, a National Park Service Discover Our Shared Heritage Travel Itinerary, Druid Hill Park listing at Maryland Historical Trust, Druid Hill Park listing at CHAP includes map, Druid Hill Park on Google Street View, George A. Frederick website, Friends of Druid Hill Park.